Okay, so you were starting to talk about your Uncle Mark?
Yeah, my Uncle Mark was the husband of Tante Gretchen, who was widowed earlier in life, and I don't know the exact circumstances of that, but he came to visit, and he was active at that point in the Arbeitsdienst, which is a sort of a labor service organization, and I muchly admired him. And he was a nice man, but he was, later on I learned, killed in Russia during World War II. Tante Gretchen was always very close to our family, and later on she came to visit us in the United States. Somewhere during that time, I don't know whether my father must have gone to Bulgaria, where he was offered a position to teach at an American school near Sophia, Bulgaria. And somewhere along that line, my sister, my mother, and I followed him to Sophia and spent the school time there during the summer. We came back to Germany, and why we had an apartment in Munich, I don't remember, but that's where we came back to an apartment in Munich. And we were visited there by my mother's mother, my grandmother, and we were, and it was 6 stories, I believe it was 6 stories up, and no elevator, but it was a nice apartment. You could see the Alps on a clear day, and I have clear recollections of that. And there was a church right across the street, Catholic church right across the street.
So you think you went there in the summers, you mean? The summer after school was up?
Yes.
So this would have been in the 1934 to 1936 time frame, which is when when you were living in Sophia.
I remember, yes. I remember clearly being in Munich in this apartment during the Olympic Games in Berlin, and following it very, very closely, and of course cheering for everything that all the wins that Germany had. So it was an interesting place, and it was different from, it was a little different culture than we think of now in America. I used to go to the corner tavern with a pitcher and bring beer back home, and that was what people did. The taverns had a side door where you went in, where you could buy beer by the pitcher, and they took it directly out of the barrel. And
so were you going to Catholic schools as well when you were in Sophia, or so you would have been like 8, 9, 10 years old at that point in time, maybe 11.
Yeah, during that, my schooling was not steady. It was intermediate, but for at least 1 year, I believe it was 1 year, maybe it was more, I went to a German school in Sophia. It's common in the it was common in the Baltic, in the Slovak countries, as it was in Bulgaria, in the major cities, to have schools from foreign countries. You had French schools, you had Russian schools, you had German schools, and I went to the German school, which my father, I can remember, had great trepidations about, because that school was run by people who were active Nazis.
Right.
So and I remember that quite well, and I was active with the other boys in the activities that school engaged in. But other than that, it was strictly learning French and mathematics and all that kind of stuff.
Was there any sports or anything like that involved with school?
If there was, I don't remember it.
Okay.
I don't, not as actively as there is now in the United States.